sins have been classified as minor and major. Over time, many definitions have been given regarding what exactly a major sin is. One simple classification is that any sin which Islam has commanded the Islamic government to punish is classed as a major sin. Another classification is that if any sin is mentioned with hellfire, the anger of Allah, the Exalted, or the curse of Allah, the Exalted, then it is a major sin. For example, backbiting is a major sin, as it is cursed in the Holy Quran. Chapter 104 Al-Humazah, verse 1.
Woe to every slanderer, backbiter.
Some Muslims believe there are only 7 major sins which have been mentioned in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2766. But they fail to realize that even though these 7 are major sins, it does not mean that they are only 7. In fact, there are other narrations which mention other major sins such as disobeying parents. This narration is found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6273. The 7 major sins declared in the narration quoted earlier are polytheism, magic, killing an innocent, dealing with financial interest, usurping the wealth of orphans, fleeing a battlefield, and accusing an innocent woman of fornication. It is important to note that when one persists on minor sins, they become major in the sight of Islam. Major sins are only forgiven with sincere repentance, whereas minor sins can be erased by avoiding the major sins and performing righteous deeds. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 31.
If you avoid the major sins which you are forbidden, we will remove from you your lesser sins.
Sincere repentance includes regret, seeking the forgiveness of Allah, the Exalted, and anyone who has been wronged, making a firm promise not to commit the same or similar sin again, and making up for any rights which have been violated in respect to Allah, the Exalted, and people. Muslims should ensure they avoid all types of sins irrespective of size, as one of the traps of the devil is that he inspires Muslims to disregard small sins. One should always remember that mountains are made up of small stones. The first and greatest major sin is to associate others with Allah, the Exalted. This has been confirmed by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6273. Polytheism can be classified as greater and minor. The greater type is when one worships more than one god. If a person dies in this state, they will not be forgiven. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 48.
Indeed, Allah does not forgive association with him.
The minor type is when one shows off their actions. This has been confirmed in many narrations, such as the one found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 3989. On Judgment Day, those who perform deeds to please others besides Allah, the Exalted, will be commanded to gain their reward from them, which will not be possible. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 3154. If the devil cannot prevent one from performing righteous deeds, he will attempt to corrupt their intention, thereby destroying their reward. If he cannot corrupt their intention in an obvious way, he tries to corrupt it through subtle ways. This includes when people subtly show off their righteous deeds to others. Sometimes it is so subtle that the person themselves are not fully aware of what they are doing. As gaining and acting on knowledge is a duty on all, according to a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 224, claiming ignorance will not be accepted by Allah, the Exalted, on Judgment Day. Subtly showing off often occurs through social media and one's speech. For example, a Muslim might inform others they are fasting, even though no one directly asked them if they were fasting. Another example is when one publicly recites the Holy Quran from memory in front of others, thereby showing others they have memorized the Holy Quran. Even criticizing oneself publicly can be considered showing off one's humility to others. To conclude, showing off subtly destroys a Muslim's reward and must be avoided in order to safeguard their righteous deeds. This is only possible by learning and acting on Islamic knowledge, such as how to safeguard one's speech. The next major sin, which is widely practiced by certain communities, is sorcery or black magic. The Holy Quran has connected practicing sorcery with unbelief. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 102.
But they, i.e., the two angels, do not teach anyone unless they say, "We are a trial, so do not disbelieve by practicing magic."
Some commit this sin, believing it is only forbidden when it is actually connected to disbelief. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, classified sorcery as one of the destructive sins, meaning, if one does not sincerely repent, it may well cause them to enter hell. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2766. It is a deadly major sin, as the one who practices it believes it can change the decree of Allah, the Exalted. Meaning, it can rival and challenge the infinite power of Allah, the Exalted, which is clear unbelief. Therefore, Muslims must avoid this deadly major sin at all costs. The next major sin is neglecting the obligatory prayer. In this day and age, this has become far too common. Many give up their obligatory prayers for trivial reasons, all of which are undoubtedly rejected. If the obligation of the prayer has not been removed for the one who is engaging in battle, how can it be removed from anyone else? Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 102.
And when you, i.e., the commander of an army, are among them and lead them in prayer, let a group of them stand in prayer with you, and let them carry their arms. And when they have prostrated, let them be in position behind you, and have the other group come forward which has not yet prayed, and let them pray with you, taking precaution and carrying their arms.
Neither is the traveler or the sick exempt from offering their obligatory prayers. The traveler has been advised to reduce the amount of cycles in some of the obligatory prayers, in order to reduce the burden for them, but they have not been exempt from offering them. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 101.
And when you travel throughout the land, there is no blame upon you for shortening the prayer.
The sick have been advised to perform dry ablution if contact with water will harm them. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 6.
But if you are ill or on a journey, or one of you comes from the place of relieving himself, or you have contacted women, and do not find water, then seek clean earth and wipe over your faces and hands with it.
In addition, the sick can perform the prayer in a way which is easier for them. Meaning, if they cannot stand, they are allowed to sit, and if they cannot sit, they can lie down and offer the prayer. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 372. But again, no complete exemption is granted to the sick unless one is mentally ill, which prevents them from comprehending the obligation of the prayer. The other major issue is that some Muslims delay their prayers and offer them beyond their correct times. This clearly contradicts the Holy Quran, as the believers have been described as those who offer their obligatory prayers on time. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 103.
Indeed, prayer has been decreed upon the believers a decree of specified times.
Many believe that the following verse of the Holy Quran refers to those who unnecessarily delay their obligatory prayers. This has been discussed in Tafsir Ibn Kathir, Volume 10, pages 603 to 604. Chapter 107 Al-Ma'an, verses 4 to 5.
So woe to those who pray, but who are heedless of their prayer.
Here Allah, the Exalted, has clearly cursed those who have adopted this evil trait. How can one find success in this world or in the next, if they have been removed from the mercy of Allah, the Exalted? Abandoning the obligatory prayers is such a serious sin that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, declared in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2621, that whoever commits this sin has disbelieved in Islam. In addition, no other good deed will benefit a Muslim until their obligatory prayers are not established. A narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 553, clearly warns that one's good deeds are destroyed if they miss the afternoon obligatory prayer. If this is the case for abandoning one obligatory prayer, can one imagine the penalty of abandoning them all? Observing the obligatory prayers at their correct times has been advised to be one of the most beloved deeds to Allah, the Exalted, in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 252. From this one can determine that delaying the obligatory prayers beyond their time or completely missing them is one of the most hated deeds by Allah, the Exalted. It is an important duty for all elders to encourage the children under their care to offer the obligatory prayers from a young age, so that they establish them before it becomes legally binding on them. Those adults that delay this and wait until children are older have failed in this extremely important duty. The children who were only encouraged to offer the obligatory prayers when it became obligatory on them very rarely established them quickly. In most cases, it takes years for them to fulfill this important duty correctly. And the blame falls on the elders of the family, especially the parents. This is why the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has advised in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 495, that families must encourage their children to offer the obligatory prayers when they turn 7 years old. Another major issue many Muslims face is that they may offer the obligatory prayers but fail to do so correctly. For example, many do not complete the stages of the prayer correctly and instead rush through it. In fact, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 757, clearly warns that the one who prays like this has not prayed at all, meaning they are not recorded as a person who offered their prayer, and therefore their obligation has not been fulfilled. A narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 265, clearly warns that the prayer of the one who does not settle in each position of the prayer is not accepted. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, described the one who does not bow or prostrate correctly in the prayer as the worst thief. This has been warned in a narration found in Muwatta Malik, book number 9, narration number 75. Unfortunately, many Muslims who have spent decades offering their obligatory and many voluntary prayers like this will find that none of them have counted, and thus they will be treated as one who did not fulfill their obligation. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan and Nasai, number 1313. The next major sin is failing to donate the obligatory charity. Severe warnings over this sin have been given in the Holy Quran and the narrations of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. For example, a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1403, warns that the person who does not donate their obligatory charity will encounter a large poisonous snake which will continuously bite them on the Day of Judgment. Chapter 3, Ali Imran, verse 180.
And let not those who greedily withhold what Allah has given them of His bounty ever think that it is better for them. Rather, it is worse for them. Their necks will be encircled by what they withheld on the day of resurrection.
According to a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 4019, when the members of a society withhold the obligatory charity, Allah, the Exalted, will withhold rain, and if it was not for the animals, He would not let it rain at all. This major sin is therefore one potential cause of the long periods of drought some nations face. Not offering the obligatory charity is a sign of extreme greed, as it is only an extremely tiny portion of one's wealth, namely 2.5%. It is clear that the miser is far from Allah, the Exalted, the people, and close to hell. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1961. Muslims must understand that donating the obligatory charity does not only protect them from punishment, but it leads to blessings in one's life which far outweigh the wealth they donated. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has made it clear in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6592, that charity does not decrease one's wealth. This means that when one donates, Allah, the Exalted, compensates them. For example, He provides them with business opportunities which cause them to gain more wealth than they donated. This repayment is confirmed in many places of the Holy Quran, for example, chapter 57 Al-Hadid, verse 11.
Who is it that would loan Allah a goodly loan, so He will multiply it for him and he will have a noble reward?
In addition, this narration could indicate that as each person's provision is pre-recorded, whatever wealth which is destined to be spent on them will never change irrespective of how much wealth a person donates. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6748. A Muslim must therefore avoid the wrath of Allah, the Exalted, by donating a very small fraction of their wealth in the form of the obligatory charity, while hoping for a reward which is much greater both in this world and the next. The next major sin is to miss an obligatory fast without a valid reason. In fact, this is so serious that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 2396, that if a Muslim does not complete an obligatory fast without a valid religious reason, they will not be able to completely make up for it, even if they fasted every day for their entire life. A valid excuse includes being so sick that if one fasted, it would make them worse. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 184.
Fasting for a limited number of days. So whoever among you is ill or on a journey during them, then an equal number of other days are to be made up. And upon those who are able to fast but with hardship, a ransom as substitute of feeding a poor person each day. And whoever volunteers good, i.e. excess, it is better for him. But to fast is best for you if you only knew.
The next major sin is unfortunately quite common amongst people nowadays, namely, failing to complete the obligatory holy pilgrimage when one is able to do so. These are the people who are obliged to perform it, and are in a situation where they can yet unnecessarily delay it. Chapter 3 Ali Imran, verse 97.
And due to Allah from the people is a pilgrimage to the house, for whoever is able to find thereto a way.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has given a severe warning in a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 812, that if a Muslim is in a position to perform their obligatory holy pilgrimage and fails to, then they might as well die as a non-Muslim. Unfortunately, Muslims often delay this important duty with poor excuses, not understanding how serious it is. The next major sin is being disrespectful to one's parents. Being kind to parents is widely known characteristic amongst Muslims, yet unfortunately many fail to fulfill this important duty. Allah, the Exalted, has placed being kind to parents next to solely worshipping Him in many places of the Holy Quran, such as chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 23.
And your Lord has decreed that you worship not except Him, and to parents good treatment. Whether one or both of them reach old age while with you, say not to them so much as uff, and do not repel them but speak to them a noble word.
In fact, this same verse prohibits Muslims to even utter a single word out of annoyance towards their parents. In another place of the Holy Quran, Allah, the Exalted, has combined being grateful to Him with being grateful to parents. Chapter 31 Luqman, verse 14.
Be grateful to me and to your parents.
Even though there are countless narrations commanding treating parents kindly, a single narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 3662, is enough to understand its importance. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, answered someone who questioned what the rights of one's parents are by declaring that they are a child's paradise or hell. Meaning, if one treats their parents kindly for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, they may well be admitted into paradise because of it. But those who mistreat their parents may well be hurled into hell because of it. Even though, being obedient to parents, as long as it does not involve the disobedience of Allah, the Exalted, is very difficult. Especially, in this day and age, Muslims should try to remain patient and not argue with their parents. If a Muslim disagrees with them, they can and should still maintain respect for them at all times. Usury, financial interest. Financial interest denotes the amount that a lender receives from a borrower at a fixed rate of interest. At the time of the revelation of the Holy Quran, many forms of interest transactions were practiced. Of these, one was that the vendor sold an article and fixed a time limit for the payment of the price, stipulating that if the buyer failed to pay within the specified period of time, they would extend the time limit, but increase the price of the article. Another was that a person loaned a sum of money to another person, and stipulated that the borrower should return a specified amount in excess of the amount loaned within a given time limit. A third form of interest transaction was that the borrower and vendor agreed that the former would repay the loan within a certain limit at a fixed rate of interest, and that if they failed to do so within the limit, the lender would extend the time limit but at the same time would increase the rate of interest. It is transactions such as these that the injunctions mentioned here apply. Those who believe this fail to differentiate between the profit gained from lawful investment and financial interest. As a result of this confusion, some argue that if profit on money invested in a business is lawful, why should the profit made from a loan be deemed unlawful? They argue that instead of a person investing their wealth, they loan it to somebody who in turn makes a profit out of it. In such circumstances, why should the borrower not pay the lender a part of the profit? They fail to recognize that no business venture is immune from risk. No venture carries an absolute guarantee of profit. Therefore, it is not fair that the financier alone should be considered entitled to a profit at a fixed rate in all circumstances, and should be protected against any chance of loss. It is not a part of justice that those who dedicate their resources are not guaranteed profit at any fixed rate, whereas those who lend their wealth are fully secured against all risks of loss and are guaranteed profit at a fixed rate. In a normal lawful transaction, a buyer derives benefit from an item which they purchase from a seller. The seller receives compensation for the effort and time spent on making the item. In interest-related transactions, on the other hand, exchange of benefits does not take place equitably. The interest-receiving party receives a fixed amount as a payment for the loan they gave, and thus their gain is secured. The other party can make use of the funds loaned, but it may not always yield a profit. If such a person spends the borrowed funds on a need, there will be no profit. Even if the funds are invested, then one stands the chance of both making a profit or incurring a loss. Hence, an interest-related transaction causes either a loss on one side and a profit on the other, or an assured and fixed profit on one side and an uncertain profit on the other. Therefore, lawful trade is not equal to financial interest. In addition, the burden of interest makes it extremely difficult for borrowers to repay the loan. They may even have to borrow from another source in order to pay off the original loan and interest. Because of the way interest works, the sum outstanding against them often remains even after they have repaid the loan. This financial pressure can prevent people obtaining the necessities of life for themselves and their families. This stress can lead to many physical and mental problems. Ultimately, in this type of system, only the rich get richer while the poor get poorer. Even though dealing with financial interest may outwardly seem that a person gains wealth, but in reality, it only causes an overall loss to them. This loss can take many forms. For example, it may lead them to losing good and lawful business dealings they could have obtained if they refrained from dealing with financial interest. Allah, the Exalted, may cause them to use their wealth in ways which do not please them. For example, they may encounter physical ailments which causes them to spend their precious unlawful wealth, thereby failing to use it in ways pleasing to them. The overall loss has a spiritual aspect also. The more they deal with financial interest, the greater their greed becomes, meaning their greed for worldly things is never satisfied, which by definition makes them poor even if they possess much wealth. These people will go from one worldly issue to another throughout the day, failing to achieve contentment, as they lost the grace which accompanies lawful business and wealth. This may even push them towards gaining more unlawful wealth through financial interest and other means. The loss in the hereafter is more obvious. They will be left empty-handed on the day of judgment, as no good deed which is rooted in the unlawful, such as giving charity with unlawful wealth, is accepted by Allah, the Exalted. It does not take a scholar to determine where this person is likely to end up on Judgment Day. There is a huge difference between lawful business transactions and interest-related transactions. The former plays a beneficial role in society, whereas the latter leads to its decline. By its very nature, interest breeds greed, selfishness, apathy, and cruelty towards others. It leads to the worship of wealth and destroys compassion and unity with others. Thus, it can ruin society from both an economic and a moral viewpoint. Charity, on the other hand, is the outcome of generosity and compassion. Due to mutual cooperation and goodwill, the society will develop positively, which in turn benefits everyone. It is obvious that if there is a society whose individuals are selfish in their dealings with one another, in which the interests of the rich are directly opposed to the interests of the common people, that society does not rest on stable foundations. In such a society, instead of love and compassion, there is bound to grow mutual spite and bitterness. To conclude, when people fulfill their own needs and the needs of their dependents, and then spend in charitable ways with their surplus wealth or take part in mutually lawful business ventures, then the trade, industry, and agriculture in such a society will improve. The standard of living within the society will rise and production in it will be much higher than in societies where economic activity is constricted by financial interest. Severing ties of kinship. The next major sin is severing ties with relatives. This is a very serious issue, whose consequences, unfortunately, many are unaware of. A single narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6519, indicates its seriousness. Allah, the Exalted, will sever his connection of mercy from the one who severs ties with their relatives over worldly reasons. It is often observed, especially amongst the Asian community, that over petty worldly issues a Muslim sever ties with a relative, even though they were treated well by them for years. Only after the relative dies does the Muslim then show regret, even though it is too late now. This is an ignorant mentality and must change. How can one expect to gain success in this world or in the next if Allah, the Exalted, cuts his mercy off from them? In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, clearly warned in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 5984, that the one who severs bonds with their relatives over worldly issues will not enter paradise. In addition, severing ties of kinship is a characteristic which Allah, the Exalted, has cursed in the Holy Quran. A person who is cursed like this will only face one difficulty after another, until they leave this world to face more difficulties. Chapter 47 Muhammad, verses 22 to 23.
So would you perhaps, if you turned away, cause corruption on earth and sever your ties of relationship? Those who do so are the ones that Allah has cursed.
Even if one is a sinful Muslim, a relative should not sever ties with them. Instead, they should persistently advise them to abandon their disobedience to Allah, the Exalted, and in no way aid them in their evil behavior. Only when one feels threatened by the evil behavior of their relative should they avoid them at all costs. Chapter 4 An-Nisa, verse 1.
And fear Allah, through whom you ask one another and the wombs.
Pride. The next major sin is pride. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 265, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a person who possesses even an atom's worth of pride in their heart will not enter paradise. He clarified that pride is when a person rejects the truth and looks down on others. No amount of good deeds will benefit someone who possesses pride. This is quite obvious when one observes the devil and how his countless years of worship did not benefit him when he became proud. In fact, the following verse clearly connects pride with disbelief, so a Muslim must avoid this evil characteristic at all costs. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 34.
And mention when we said to the angels, prostrate before Adam, so they prostrated except for Iblis. He refused and was arrogant and became of the disbelievers.
The proud is the one who rejects the truth when it is presented to them, simply because it did not come from them, and as it challenges their desires and mentality. The proud person also believes they are superior to others, even though they are unaware of their own ultimate end and the ultimate end of others. This is plain ignorance. In reality, it is foolish to be proud of anything, seeing as Allah, the Exalted, created and granted everything a person owns. Even the righteous deeds one performs is only due to the inspiration, knowledge and strength granted by Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, being proud of something which does not innately belong to them is plain foolishness. This is just like a person who becomes proud over a mansion they do not even own or live in. This is the reason why pride belongs to Allah, the Exalted, as He alone is the Creator and innate owner of all things. The one who challenges Allah, the Exalted, in pride will be thrown into hell. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 4090. A Muslim should instead follow in the footsteps of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, and adopt humility. The humble truly recognize that all the good they possess and all the evil they are protected from comes from no one except Allah, the Exalted. Therefore, humility is more fitting for a person than pride. A person should not be fooled into believing humility leads to disgrace, as no one has been more honored than the humble servants of Allah, the Exalted. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has guaranteed an increase in status for the one who adopts humility for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2029. Perjury. The next major sin is perjury. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2673, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who acts as a false witness in order to unlawfully take the possessions of others will meet Allah, the Exalted, while he is angry with them. It is important to note, this applies to taking the possessions of all people, irrespective of their faith. This will be the outcome even if one obeys Allah, the Exalted, in other aspects of their life, such as offering the obligatory prayers. Unfortunately, this commonly occurs especially in third world countries where Muslims file false claims in legal courts in order to take something which does not belong to them, such as wealth and properties. According to a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2654, it is one of the greatest of major sins. In fact, this narration places perjury next to polytheism and disobedience to parents. In fact, Allah, the Exalted, has done the same in the Holy Quran. Chapter 22 Al-Hajj, verse 30.
So avoid the uncleanliness of idols and avoid false statement.
A narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 2373, gives a severe warning to a person who does not sincerely repent from being a false witness. If they fail to repent, they will not move on the Day of Judgment until Allah, the Exalted, sends them to hell. In fact, the one who acts as a false witness in order to take something which they have no right to, will be sent to hell, even if the thing they took was a twig of a tree. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 353. Being a false witness is such a serious sin, as it includes many other terrible sins, such as lying. The false witness commits a sin against the person who they are testifying against. This sin will not be forgiven by Allah, the Exalted, until the victim forgives them first. If they do not, the false witness's good deeds will be given to the victim, and if necessary, the sins of the victim will be given to the false witness in order to establish justice on Judgment Day. This may well cause the false witness to be hurled into hell. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. The false witness also commits a sin if they testify on someone else's behalf, so that the latter can take something which they have no right to. This attitude clearly challenges the command of the Holy Quran, which advises Muslims to not aid each other in evil, but instead help each other in good things. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 2.
And cooperate in righteousness and piety, but do not cooperate in sin and aggression.
The false witness will also commit further sins by using something which has become unlawful, because of the way it was obtained. For example, if a person obtained wealth in this manner, and then gave it in charity, it would be rejected and recorded as a sin, as Allah, the Exalted, only accepts the lawful. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2342. In fact, anything they do with the wealth will be absent of grace and a sin, as it was obtained unlawfully. It is a duty on all Muslims to always speak the truth, whether it is in normal everyday conversations, or under oath in a court case. Lying in all forms leads to sins which in turn lead to hell. The one who continues lying will be recorded as a great liar by Allah, the Exalted. It does not take a scholar to work out what is most likely to happen to someone on Judgment Day, who has been labeled a great liar by Allah, the Exalted. This has been warned in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1971. Alcohol. The next major sin is drinking alcohol. In a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 3371, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that a Muslim must never consume alcohol, as it is the key to all evil. Unfortunately, this major sin has increased amongst the Muslims over time. This is the key to all evil, as it gives rise to other sins. This is quite obvious, as a drunk loses control over their tongue and physical actions. One only needs to look at the news to observe how much crime is committed due to drinking alcohol. Even those who drink moderately only cause damage to their bodies, which science has proven. The physical and mental diseases associated with alcohol are numerous and cause a heavy burden on the National Health Service and the taxpayers. It is the key to all evil, as it negatively affects all three aspects of a person, namely, their body, mind and soul. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 90.
O you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, sacrificing on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan, so avoid it that you may be successful.
The fact that drinking alcohol has been placed next to things which are associated with polytheism in this verse highlights how important it is to avoid. It is such a serious sin that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 3376, that the one who drinks alcohol regularly will not enter paradise. Spreading the Islamic greeting of peace is a key to obtaining paradise, according to a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 68. Yet, a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 1017, advises Muslims not to greet someone who regularly drinks alcohol. Alcohol is a unique major sin, as it has been cursed from 10 different angles in a single narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 3380. This includes the alcohol itself, the one who produces it, the one it is produced for, the one who sells it, the one who buys it, the one who carries it, the one to whom it is carried to, the one who uses the wealth obtained through selling it, the one who drinks it and the one who pours it. The one who deals with something that has been cursed like this will not obtain true success, unless they sincerely repent. The next major sin is injustice and oppression. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2447, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that oppression will become a darkness on the Day of Judgment. This is vital to avoid, as those who find themselves plunged in darkness will unlikely find their way to paradise. Only those who will be provided a guiding light will be able to do this successfully. Oppression can take many forms. The first type is when one fails to fulfill the commands of Allah, the Exalted, and refrain from His prohibitions. Even though this has no effect on the infinite status of Allah, the Exalted, it will cause the person to become submerged into darkness in both worlds. According to a narration found in Sunan ibn Majah, number 4244, whenever a person commits a sin, a black spot is etched on their spiritual heart. The more they sin, the more their heart will become encompassed by darkness. This will prevent them from accepting and following true guidance in this world, which will ultimately lead to darkness in the next world. Chapter 83 Al-Mutaffifin, verse 14.
No. Rather, the stain has covered their hearts of that which they were earning.
The next type of oppression is when one oppresses themselves by not fulfilling the trust they have been granted by Allah, the Exalted, in the form of their body and other worldly blessings they possess. The greatest of which is one's faith. This must be protected and strengthened through gaining and acting on Islamic knowledge. The other blessings one possesses must be used in ways pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. The final type of oppression is when one mistreats others. Allah, the Exalted, will not forgive these sins until the oppressor's victim forgives them first. As people are not so merciful, this is unlikely to happen. Then justice will be established on Judgment Day, where the oppressor's righteous deeds will be given to their victim, and if necessary, the victim's sins will be given to the oppressor. This may lead to the oppressor being hurled into hell. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 6579. One should therefore treat others how they wish to be treated by people. A Muslim should avoid all forms of oppression if they desire a guiding light in this world and in the next. The next major sin is gambling. The fact that gambling has been placed next to things which are associated with polytheism in the following verse highlights how important it is to avoid. Chapter 5 Al-Ma'idah, verse 90.
O you who have believed, indeed intoxicants, gambling, sacrificing on stone altars to other than Allah, and divining arrows are but defilement from the work of Satan, so avoid it that you may be successful.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has advised in a narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 1262, that a Muslim should donate charity as compensation for saying to another that they should make a bet. If talking about placing a bet has a penalty, can one imagine the seriousness of actually gambling? Gambling not only destroys a person, but all those associated with them, such as their family. It is associated with many other sins and conditions, such as alcoholism and depression. A person might win some wealth through gambling, but in the long run they will only ever be a loser. The next major sin is utilizing the unlawful. This is when someone uses anything that is unlawful. It includes using unlawful wealth, using items which are unlawful, and eating unlawful foods. It is important to note that the specific things which have been labeled unlawful by Islam, such as alcohol, is not the only things which are unlawful. In fact, even lawful things can become unlawful if they have been gained through unlawful things. For example, a lawful food can become unlawful if it is bought with unlawful wealth. Therefore, it is important for Muslims to ensure they only deal with lawful things, as it only takes one element of the unlawful to ruin someone. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, once warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2346, that the one who utilizes the unlawful will have all their supplications rejected. If their supplications are rejected by Allah, the Exalted, can one expect any of their good deeds to be accepted? This in fact has been answered in another narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1410. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, clearly warned that Allah, the Exalted, only accepts the lawful. Therefore, any deed which has a foundation in the unlawful, such as performing the holy pilgrimage with unlawful wealth, will be rejected. In fact, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 3118, that this type of person will be sent to hell on Judgment Day. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 188.
And do not consume one another's wealth unjustly or send it in bribery to the rulers in order that they might aid you to consume a portion of the wealth of the people in sin, while you know it is unlawful.
The next major sin is probably the most common major sin committed, which is lying persistently. Unfortunately, lying is a far too common sin found within society today, even though the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, specifically labeled this sin an aspect of hypocrisy. This has been confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2459. Lying is unacceptable, whether it is a small lie or when one lies as a joke. In fact, the one who lies to make people laugh, meaning their aim is not to deceive someone, has been cursed 3 times in one narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 2315. If lying while joking is cursed, then can one imagine the seriousness of lying while attempting to deceive others? Another popular type of lie people often speak, believing it is not a sin, is when they lie to children. This is undoubtedly a sin according to narrations such as the one found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4991. It is plain foolishness to lie to children, as they will only adopt this sinful habit from the elder who lies to them. Behaving in this manner shows children that lying is acceptable when it is not according to the teachings of Islam. All Muslims desire the company of the angels, yet when a person lies, they are deprived of their company. In fact, the stench that is emitted from the mouth of the liar causes the angels to move a mile away from them. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami At-Tirmizi, number 1972. Only in very rare and extreme cases is lying acceptable, for example, lying in order to protect the life of an innocent person. Therefore, Muslims must avoid all forms of lying, irrespective of who they are conversing with. Bribery. The next major sin is bribery. In a narration found in Jami At-Tirmizi, number 1337, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who offers bribes and the one who takes bribes are both cursed. A curse involves the removal of the mercy of Allah, the Exalted. When this occurs, true lasting success in both worldly and religious matters is not possible. Whatever worldly success one obtains, such as wealth through a bribe, will become a source of great difficulty and punishment in both worlds unless one sincerely repents. In addition, without the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, the three aspects of faith are not possible to fulfill correctly, namely, fulfilling the commands of Allah, the Exalted, refraining from His prohibitions and facing destiny with patience. Unfortunately, in this day and age, the major sin of bribery has become very common in all parts of the world. The only difference is that in third world countries, it is done openly and in more developed countries secretly. In most cases, bribery involves a person offering gifts to influential people, such as a judge, in order to gain something which is not theirs. The only time a bribe will not be recorded as a sin is when one is forced to offer a bribe in order to recover their own property. The curse in this case is on the one who takes the bribe. It is important to note, if Muslims as a whole desire to eliminate bribery and other corrupt practices, then they must avoid them themselves. Only when this correct attitude is adopted on an individual level will it affect those in social and political positions of influence. The reason these people act in this way is because they observe the society as a whole acting on corrupt practices themselves. But if the society on an individual level rejected these practices, no person in a position of social or political influence would dare act in this way, as they know the people would not stand for it. Showing off. The next major sin is showing off one's righteous deeds to people. In a narration found in Jami At-Tirmizi, number 3154, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that those who perform deeds for the sake of people, such as showing off, instead of doing them for the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted, will be told to gain their reward on Judgment Day from the people they acted for, which in reality is not possible to do. It is important to understand that the foundation of all deeds and even Islam itself is one's intention. It is the very thing which Allah, the Exalted, judges people on according to a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. A Muslim should ensure they perform all religious and useful worldly actions for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, so that they gain reward from Him in both worlds. A sign of this correct mentality is that this person neither expects nor desires people to appreciate or show gratitude to them for deeds they perform. If one desires this, then it indicates their incorrect intention. In addition, acting with the correct intention prevents sadness and bitterness, as the one who acts for the sake of people will eventually encounter ungrateful people. This will lead to the person becoming enraged and bitter as they feel they wasted their effort and time. Unfortunately, this is often seen in parents and relatives, as they often fulfill their duties towards their children and relatives for their sake, instead of for the pleasure of Allah, the Exalted. But the one who acts for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, will fulfill all their duties towards others, such as their children, and never become bitter or enraged when they fail to show gratitude towards them. This attitude leads to peace of mind and general happiness, as they know Allah, the Exalted, is fully aware of their righteous deed and will reward them for it. This is the way all Muslims must act, otherwise they may well be left empty-handed on the Day of Judgment. Misusing Islamic knowledge. The next major sin is gaining Islamic knowledge for worldly reasons or hoarding it. In a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 253, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warn that the one who obtains religious knowledge in order to show off to scholars, argue with others, or attract attention to themselves will go to hell. Even though the foundation of all good in both worldly and religious matters is knowledge, Muslims must understand that knowledge will only benefit them when they firstly correct their intention. Meaning, they strive to obtain and act on knowledge in order to please Allah, the Exalted. All other reasons will only lead to a loss of reward and even punishment if a Muslim fails to sincerely repent. In reality, knowledge is like rainwater which falls on different types of trees. Some trees grow by this water in order to benefit others, such as a fruit tree, whereas other trees grow by this water and become a nuisance to others. Even though the rainwater is the same in both cases, but the outcome is very different. Similarly, religious knowledge is the same for people, but if one adopts the incorrect intention, then it will become a means of their destruction. Conversely, if one adopts the correct intention, it will become a means of their salvation. Muslims should therefore correct their intention in all matters, as they will be judged on this. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1. And they should remember that one of the first people to enter hell will be a scholar who only obtained knowledge in order to show off to others. This has been warned in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 4923. Obtaining and acting on useful knowledge with the correct intention is true beneficial knowledge. Whoever conceals knowledge without a valid reason will be bridled with fire on Judgment Day. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 2649. Therefore, Muslims must share the useful knowledge they gain with others. It is simply foolish not to, as this is one of the righteous deeds which will benefit a Muslim even after they die. This has been advised in a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 241. Those who hoarded knowledge were forgotten by history, but those who shared it with others became known as the scholars and teachers of mankind. Counting favors. The next major sin is reminding others of the favors they have done them, such as charity. Without a doubt, this cancels the reward of the favor they have done. Chapter 2 Al-Baqarah, verse 264.
O you who have believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders of it or injury.
It is such a serious sin that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned in a narration found in Sunan an-Nasai, number 2563, that the one who reminds others of the favors they have done them will not enter paradise. It is important for a Muslim to understand that if one acts and helps others for the sake of Allah, the Exalted, then they should seek reward from Him. But if they remind others of the favors they have done them, it only proves they have acted for the sake of people, meaning they desire some sort of compensation from people. Those who perform righteous deeds for the sake of people will be told to gain their reward from them on Judgment Day, which will not be possible. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmizi, number 3154. Spying. The next major sin is spying on others in order to uncover faults which have been concealed by Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
And do not spy.
The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, has warned in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7042, that whoever spies on others, such as eavesdropping on their private conversations, will have molten lead poured into their ears on the Day of Judgment. Muslims should understand that if Allah, the Exalted, is all-knowing yet still conceals the faults of others, then Muslims who possess limited God-given knowledge should not spy on others with the intention to uncover their faults and personal issues. Whoever uncovers the faults of others will have their faults exposed by Allah, the Exalted. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Ibn Majah, number 2546. Instead, Muslims should act on the other part of this narration, which is to conceal the faults of others, so that Allah, the Exalted, conceals their faults. Tale-bearing. The next major sin is tale-bearing and spreading gossip. In a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 290, The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, warned that the one who spreads malicious gossip will not enter paradise. This is the one who spreads gossip whether it is true or not, and it leads to problems between people, fractured and broken relationships. This is an evil characteristic, and those who behave in such a manner are in fact human devils, as this mentality belongs to none other than the devil. He always strives to cause separation between people. Allah, the Exalted, has cursed this type of person in the Holy Quran. Chapter 104 Al-Humazah, verse 1.
Woe to every slanderer and backbiter!
How can one expect Allah, the Exalted, to fix their problems and bestow them with blessings if this curse has surrounded them? The only time tale-bearing is acceptable is when one is warning others of a danger. It is a duty on a Muslim not to pay any attention to a tale-bearer, as they are wicked people who should not be trusted or believed. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 6.
O you who have believed, if there comes to you a disobedient one with information, investigate, lest you harm a people out of ignorance.
A Muslim should forbid the tale-bearer from continuing with this evil characteristic, and urge them to sincerely repent. As commanded in the Holy Quran, a Muslim should not harbor any ill will against the person that supposedly said something bad about them. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
O you who have believed, avoid much negative assumption. Indeed, some assumption is sin.
This same verse teaches Muslims not to try to prove or disprove the tale-bearer by spying on others. Chapter 49 Al-Hujurat, verse 12.
And do not spy.
Instead, the tale-bearer should be ignored. A Muslim should not mention the information given to them by the tale-bearer to another person, or mention the tale-bearer, as this would make them a tale-bearer as well. Muslims should avoid tale-bearing and the company of tale-bearers, as they can never be worthy of trust or companionship until they sincerely repent. Breaking promises. The next major sin is breaking promises intentionally and being untrustworthy. Unfortunately, some Muslims act as if they will not be held accountable for their promises. Chapter 17 Al-Isra, verse 34.
And fulfill every commitment. Indeed, the commitment is ever that about which one will be questioned.
This includes all the trusts one possesses from Allah, the Exalted, and people. Every blessing one possesses has been entrusted to them by Allah, the Exalted. The only way to fulfill these trusts is by using the blessings in the way which is pleasing to Allah, the Exalted. This will ensure they gain further blessings, as this is true gratitude. Chapter 14 Ibrahim, verse 7.
And remember when your Lord proclaimed, if you are grateful, I will surely increase you in favor.
The trusts between people are important to fulfill also. The one who has been entrusted with someone else's belongings should not misuse them, and only use them according to the wishes of the owner. One of the greatest trusts between people is keeping conversations secret, unless there is some obvious benefit in informing others. Unfortunately, this is often overlooked by Muslims. The greatest of promises a Muslim has made is with Allah, the Exalted, which is to obey Him sincerely. This involves fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and facing destiny with patience. All other promises made with people must also be kept, unless one has a valid excuse, especially the ones a parent makes with children. Breaking promises only teaches children bad character, and encourages them to believe being deceitful is an acceptable characteristic to possess. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 2227, Allah, the Exalted, declares that He will be against the one who makes a promise in His name and then breaks it without a valid excuse. How can the one who has Allah, the Exalted, against them on Judgment Day, possibly succeed? Uncontrolled grieving. The next major sin is when one wails loudly, tears their clothes, and does similar things in times of difficulty, such as the death of beloved. There are many narrations proving this, such as the one found in Sunan Abu Dawood, number 3128, which has cursed the person who wails at the time of affliction. Unfortunately, some Muslim communities believe they have not shown their love for the deceased and their relatives until they wail over them publicly. This is in fact a double sin, as they wail in a time of affliction, which is a major sin, but they also do it to show off to others, which is another sin. Unfortunately, some believe it is not permitted to cry in times of difficulty, such as losing a loved one. This is incorrect, as the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, cried on many occasions when someone passed away. For example, he wept when his son Ibrahim, may Allah be pleased with him, passed away. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 3126. In fact, crying on someone's death is a sign of mercy which Allah, the Exalted, has placed in the hearts of His servants. And only those who show mercy to others will be shown mercy by Allah, the Exalted. This has been advised in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 1284. This same narration clearly mentions that the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, cried over his grandson who passed away. A narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 2137, advises that a person will not be punished for crying over the death of someone or the grief they feel in their heart. But they may well face punishment if they utter words showing their impatience with the choice of Allah, the Exalted. It is clear that feeling grief in one's heart or shedding tears is not prohibited in Islam. The things which are prohibited are wailing, showing one's impatience through words or actions, such as tearing one's clothes or shaving one's head in grief. They are severe warnings against those who act in this way. Therefore, one should avoid these actions at all costs. Not only may a person face punishment for acting in this way, but if the deceased desired and commanded others to act like this when they passed away, they too will be held accountable. But if the deceased did not desire this, then they are free of any accountability. This is confirmed in a narration found in Jami' at-Tirmidhi, number 1006. It is common sense to understand that Allah, the Exalted, would not punish someone because of the actions of another when the former did not advise them to act in that manner. Chapter 35 Fatir, verse 18.
And no bearer of burdens will bear the burden of another.
Harming neighbors. The next major sin is unjustly harming one's neighbor. In a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 6014, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, advised that he was encouraged to treat neighbors kindly to such an extent that he thought that a neighbor would become an heir of every Muslim. Unfortunately, this duty is often neglected, even though treating one's neighbors kindly is an important aspect of Islam. First of all, it is important to note that a person's neighbor in Islam includes all those people who are living within 40 houses in each direction to a Muslim's home. This is confirmed in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 109. The Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, once connected belief in Allah, the Exalted, and Judgment Day to treating a neighbor kindly in a narration found in Sahih Muslim, number 174. This narration alone is enough to indicate the seriousness of treating neighbors kindly. A narration found in Imam Bukhari's Adab al-Mufrad, number 119, warns that a woman who fulfilled her obligatory duties and offered much voluntary worship would go to hell because she mistreated her neighbors through her speech. If this is the case for the one who harms their neighbor through words, can one imagine the seriousness of physically harming one's neighbor? A Muslim must be patient when mistreated by their neighbor. In fact, a Muslim should treat them kindly in cases like this. Repaying good with good is not difficult. A good neighbor is the one who repays harm with good. A Muslim should respect the private space of their neighbor's property, but at the same time greet them and offer them help without being too intrusive. They should be supported by whatever means is available to a person, such as financial or emotional support. A Muslim should always conceal the faults of their neighbors. The one who conceals the faults of others will have their faults concealed by Allah, the Exalted. And the one who exposes the faults of others, Allah, the Exalted, will expose their faults and publicly disgrace them. This is confirmed in a narration found in Sunan Abu Dawud, number 4880. Losing hope in Allah, the Exalted. The next major sin is losing hope in the infinite mercy of Allah, the Exalted. Chapter 12 Yusuf, verse 87.
Indeed, No one despairs of relief from Allah except the disbelieving people.
In a narration found in Jami at-Tirmidhi, number 2459, the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, described the difference between true hope in the mercy of Allah, the Exalted, and wishful thinking. True hope is when one controls their soul by avoiding the disobedience of Allah, the Exalted, and actively struggles for preparing for the hereafter. Whereas, the foolish wishful thinker follows their desires and then expects Allah, the Exalted, to forgive them and fulfill their wishes. It is important for Muslims not to confuse these two attitudes so that they avoid living and dying as a wishful thinker, as this person is highly unlikely to succeed in this world or in the next. Wishful thinking is like a farmer who fails to prepare the land for planting, fails to plant seeds, fails to water the land, and then expects to harvest a huge crop. This is plain foolishness, and this farmer is highly unlikely to succeed. Whereas, true hope is like a farmer who prepares the land, plants seeds, waters the land, and then hopes Allah, the Exalted, will bless them with a huge harvest. The key difference is that the one who possesses true hope will actively strive to obey Allah, the Exalted, by fulfilling His commands, refraining from His prohibitions, and by facing destiny with patience according to the traditions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him. And whenever they slip up, they sincerely repent. Whereas, the wishful thinker will not actively strive in obeying Allah, the Exalted, and instead follow their desires and still expect Allah, the Exalted, to forgive them and fulfill their wishes. Muslims must therefore learn the key difference so that they can abandon wishful thinking and instead adopt true hope in Allah, the Exalted, which always leads to nothing except good and success in both worlds. This has been indicated in a narration found in Sahih Bukhari, number 7405. Over 400 free ebooks, audiobooks, infographics, podcasts and blogs available on our website, www.shakepod.com.